This was about 4 or 5 years ago. My wife, God bless her, took her students, because she was then a professor at Howard University. She took a group of African-American students to Paris on a nice week-long trip to see Paris, see the cultural and literary jewels that France has produced over many centuries, and to help develop their education in the Western curriculum. And so we took these students. And of course, I've been reading about the growing Muslim suburbs in Paris, and in particular about the growing Muslim community that is increasingly alienated and frustrated. So we went to what is called La Grande Mosque de Paris, the Great Mosque in Paris. And so we went there, and I introduced myself to the chief imam, and I said, "Hi, I'm Jeff Kuhner. I'm a columnist at the Washington Times. And these are these students from Howard University, and they want to learn a little bit more about Islam." To make a long story short, the cleric looked at me and said, "Get these women and these students out of here. I want to talk to you." He says, "You're from Washington?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "So you must know George Bush." I'm like, "No, I don't know George Bush." He's like, "Well, listen, you know what? This is better said in private. Come downstairs where we have our bathhouse, and it is there where all the worshipers at the mosque wash their feet so they can be clean when they go into the mosque to pray." And he takes me downstairs. In my entire life, and believe me, I have covered some very dangerous scenes in this country and around the world, I never saw such raw, fanatical hatred, not only in the eyes of this imam, but in the eyes of all of his followers, many of them young men with their beards. And this man said to me, and I'll never forget it, he said, "Listen, look around you. These are holy warriors. These are the followers of Allah. Their souls are clean, their minds are clean, their feet are clean. They are now ready to pray, and they are now willing to die for Allah. And you tell George Bush from me that we will turn Iraq into a giant American graveyard, and we will kill every one of you in Iraq. And after Iraq, we will kill you in Afghanistan. And once we are done in Iraq and Afghanistan, we will chase you into your American homeland. And we will crush you, and we will kill you in America itself, because you are the great Satan. You spread drugs, you spread pornography, you spread gay marriage, you spread everything that is evil and antithetical to what we in the Muslim world believe. And this is now a life-death struggle. And we will crush you, and we will destroy you. You go back and you tell that to George Bush." And I realized at that very moment, my friends, this is not a battle simply against a few terrorists. This is a battle against an evil, intolerant, radical ideology that is now spreading like a cancer. And they are now saying this openly in the mosques in France. And they are saying it in Hamburg, Germany, and they're saying it in London, England. And rather than stand up to these Islamic fascist butchers who are calling for our utter destruction and ruin, we are cowardly caving in. And this is what the British government has done. They have caved. They have now thrown a sacrificial lamb to offset the powerful Muslim lobby in Britain. And they have picked a Jew. They have picked a popular Jewish talk show host. Is it anti-Semitism? My suspicion is yes. I clearly know it's anti-Semitism in the rest of the continent of Europe. There it is rife. Their synagogues are being attacked, Jewish businesses are being attacked, and Jews are being assaulted every week, day by day, month by month. But now England is starting to show that anti-Semitism is rearing its ugly head. And this is why I believe we should now hold the British government on trial. And we should say no to the persecution of Michael Savage. And we should now demand, clearly and unequivocally, we want to know, what did the Prime Minister of England know, and when did he know it? Because we will no longer tolerate this kind of anti-Semitism. Our freedom of speech and our freedom of expression is to us a cornerstone of our democracy, and we will not let it go. So I want to hear from you, my friends. Why do you think the government of the United Kingdom continues to persecute Michael Savage? Is this a sign of anti-Semitism, or did they just pick his name out of a hat? I want to hear from you. 1-800-449-8255. 1-800-449-8255. This is Jeff Kuhner from the Washington Times, sitting in for the living legend, Michael Savage, on the Savage Nation.
Imagine discovering an opportunity that could completely rebuild your retirement fund by 40% over the next 2 years. Does it sound too good to be true? It's not if you take action today. Call my good friends, and I mean good friends, at Swiss America. Gold IRAs have averaged 20% per year growth since 2001. It's just common sense to roll over dead paper assets into gold, the best performing asset of the century. Then you can relax no matter what happens on Wall Street. Call now for a complete Gold 101 DVD and my free CD.
Call toll-free 888-867-8965. That's 888-867-8965.
For nearly a decade, I've told you to trust gold coins and Swiss America. Today, it's more urgent than ever. Get my CD, DVD, and new special report.
Call toll-free 888-867-8965. That's 888-867-8965.
Learn before you earn. Don't just imagine rebuilding your wealth. Do it now.
Call 888-867-8965 today.
On the air, online, and on the go. This is Talk 910 KNEW.
This is Jeff Kuhner from the Washington Times, sitting in for the living legend, Michael Savage, on the Savage Nation. The number to call is 1-800-449-8255. 1-800-449-8255. Is the British government going after Michael Savage simply at random, or is it because there are anti-Semitic motives behind it? I want to hear from you. Let's go to Ryan in Missouri. Ryan, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Yes, sir. I was actually just calling I don't understand the difference between what Michael Savage is doing, whereas he's talking about free speech and trying to really boost the morale of the nation, versus where President Obama has friends such as Reverend Wright who could say white America, KKK, and, I don't understand the difference where Dr. Savage could say some really good things about this country and try to get us on the right track and be punished for that, whereas President Obama could affiliate himself with people who have nothing but negative things to say about the majority of the population of this country, and yet the British government doesn't have a problem with President Obama affiliating himself with them.
Ryan, I'll give you a very easy answer to that. Essentially, the government right now in England is a liberal left government. They are ideologically completely sympathetic with what Obama is doing. And what we are slowly seeing over the last 10 to 15 years is a growing assault on freedom of speech and freedom of expression. You're seeing it all across Europe. I mean, for example, the British government refused Geert Wilders, a prominent Dutch parliamentarian, to even enter their country, and he was invited by the House of Lords. And what was his crime? Because he had helped produce a documentary showing that radical Islam exists and is a real threat. In other words, if you want to understand liberalism at its core, it is about government control and government power. And so what Obama is doing in this country, and Dr. Savage brilliantly talked about it for the last 2 hours, they are now trying to cement control over our very health care and medical care. They want to control everything. And if you dissent against it, if you criticize it, they want to silence you. That's how the left operates. And believe me, my friends, what we are now seeing is a national socialist revolution. Our very freedom is at stake. This is Jeff Kuhner sitting in for Michael Savage on the Savage Nation.
Savage. Roger Hedgecock coming up at 7. Now, the Savage Nation on Talk 910 KNEW.
This is Jeff Kuhner from the Washington Times, sitting in for the living legend, the world heavyweight talk radio champion, Michael Savage, on the Savage Nation. If you want to read more of that WorldNet Daily exclusive story, go to michaelsavage.com. And there it is in all of its ugliness. The government, British government, telling Savage, you can't think that. And they're asking Savage to basically repudiate and renounce his entire worldview. It is absolutely stunning. The arrogance is almost mind-boggling. And Michael is obviously going to continue the good fight, and we have to continue to back him, because this is fundamentally about our sacred freedoms as Americans and our rights to freedom of speech and freedom of expression in a democracy. And we're going to tell these political elites enough is enough.